Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray. I'm a detransition male, and today I'm going to be talking about the regressive and sexist psychology that is very common among trans women, trans identified males. So let me share this Reddit thread here. So this is in the subreddit Trans Fashion Advice. This is a trans woman, trans identified male writing, and they say, how do I dress like a tomboy without getting clocked? Like, how do I dress in a more masculine attire without people recognizing that I'm male, that I was born male and I'll always be male? Okay, so they write, I've never really enjoyed dressing super feminine. I like cute accessories and fun, more traditionally femme colors and patterns, but things like crop tops, skirts, etc. don't really interest me. I've been very blessed in my transition to pass pretty consistently when I put in the effort to. Also, like, by the way, like like 99% of the times when these trans women are saying they pass pretty consistently, all that means is that people generally are being polite. That's generally what it means. Um, Okay, so I feel pretty obligated to venture forth into more femme clothing, but every time I try it, I feel extremely out of place. My partner half jokingly describes my sense of style as, quote, Rainbow Dash if she was a former Hot Topic employee turned Disney adult, which I guess is accurate, but also not the most flattering, lol. My typical outfits include high-rise jeans meant to accentuate my mid-region and take away from my shoulders, Vans shoes, or when I'm feeling lazy, Crocs, and a number of graphic tees and sweaters. The occasional cardigan or jacket gets thrown in the mix too, but where I live, the weather isn't typically suited for that. Heck, there's even times where I just roll with a pair of comfortable tennis shorts, not the clocky Amazon Basics kind, and a shirt with Crocs. I wear charm bracelets along with my Apple Watch with a purple woven band and sometimes a simple necklace. Whenever I dress nice for outings, my preferred aesthetic is somewhere along the lines of light academia with accessories meant to pop. Advice or shop recommendations, I can never find anything online that I like. Okay, let's break it down here. So the problem with this logic, the problem with this psychology of trans identification, the problem with believing that as a male, you are a woman on the inside, that you were born a woman, and trying to live life under this delusional obsession with trying to pass yourself off as a female. The problem is it leads you to these regressive, sexist, um, ways of thinking about clothing and how to dress yourself. The like fundamental problem is like how trans identified people think about gender nonconformity, because in a normal sane world this would just be a regular guy who likes to dress a little bit feminine, just a regular guy who maybe has some long hair, and likes to pop with some traditionally femme colors and patterns, and likes to wear some charm bracelets and wear an Apple Watch and have a simple necklace. But this idea that, oh, I can't dress the way I want because people are going to recognize that I'm male, that is the problem with the psychology. There's nothing wrong with people recognizing that you're male. Why? Because there's nothing wrong with being male. There's nothing wrong with being male. Being male, being a man is a good thing. Also, being a gender nonconforming feminine man who wears pops of colors and charm bracelets and simple necklace or an occasional cardigan or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But you don't but the problem is when you're going around trying to uh you know pass yourself off as a female rather than just learning to accept without shame, overcoming the stigma of being perceived as a feminine man. That is the, in my opinion, philosophically speaking, the more preferred way to think about things, because the alternative, the way in which the trans identification narrative makes you think about this is that you don't wear what you want, you don't express yourself with natural authenticity, because you're constantly worried about how are people going to perceive me? Are people going to recognize my innate maleness? Like, and so now, in order to hide the fact that you are male, you're going to go out of your way and artificially wear things like skirts and crop tops or whatever in order to try and pass, rather than just doing what you want and not giving a fuck what people think. Just accept the fact that you're a feminine guy, and that you know overcome the shame of being perceived like that. But most of this comes down to some form of internalized homophobia or something like this, because these 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 males don't want to be perceived as a gay guy. Even if they're not gay, even if they're into women, they don't want to be perceived as a gay guy, because they think being a feminine man is like the worst thing in the world, rather than pushing for a world in which feminine men are accepted, pushing for a world where men can wear necklaces and charm bracelets and traditionally femme colors and stuff like that, and just a little pop of color here and there. Van shoes, cardigans. That sounds great. I personally, that like this person's fashion sense like reminds me of a lot of my own fashion sense. I never really liked to wear all these super duper feminine, skirts and stuff when I was trans identified. I liked wearing, more what's called basics. I was more of a basics collection person in terms of my fashion sense, and I still am. I don't like all the, over the top stuff. I like to keep it simple and minimalistic with a few pops of things here and there. That's kind of how I've always dressed. Now, but the problem with this psychology is that it's just regressive. This is regressive. This is sexist, and it's stigmatizing gender nonconformity in men, because it's developing the psychology of neuroticism and self-consciousness and social anxiety. You're making yourself have social anxiety about the prospect of people recognizing an innate part of yourself that there's nothing wrong with. There's nothing wrong with being male. There's nothing wrong with being a man. So this is my fundamental problem with the psychology of trans women. And it's just like I see this all the time. You're letting the perception of other people dictate your personal fashion sense, which is that is regressive. We need to be fighting that. We need to be fighting for a world in which men can be feminine, and they don't have to run around trying to convince everyone that they have an inner metaphysical gender identity of a female, and that they were born in the wrong body, that they're somehow a female soul trapped in the male body. No, you're just a feminine guy. That's all it is. We don't have to overly complicate this. And once you stop fearing people recognizing your sex, once you identify with your sex, once you realize that it is good to embrace being your own sex, that is when all the magic happens in unlocking, a new way to interact with the world in a more authentic way that's not fake. That's the problem with this. It's fakeness. Okay. Thanks for watching. Take care.